the prize goes to Peach.
Yes.
For Madam.
Yeah, just like the classic, enter a herald, exit a herald.
Exit pursued by bear.
I always love the stage directions in Elizabethan plays where somebody is up on stage but has no lines, but they are conspicuously named in enters.
Supernumeraries.
Yeah, well, it was always fun to pay attention to who was around but not saying anything, who was just there to listen.
Oh, that was a Markov chain, Shakespeare.
Yeah.
Okay. I was like, man, I thought I got Shakespeare.
Yeah, no, I know, right? Where you're just like, I have no idea.
Yeah, I was like, oh man, it's everything I ever knew. It's all a lie.
Yeah.
Normal Shakespeare's a little lofty for Desert Bus, I'd say.
Wherefore art thou Romeo? He's right there.
But
Well, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I do, somebody did challenge at one point. They're like, oh, can you do the exchange of insults between Benedict and Beatrice from Much Ado About Nothing? And I was like, maybe. And then I looked at what they quoted and I'm like, there's 9 people in this scene. You don't have that many people on camera. I'm not going to do the whole... No. Okay, we'll move on. I do love that the Kenneth Branagh production of that is really good. Because it kind of just bites into all the really good pieces of it. And I haven't watched the Nathan Fillion one yet.
There's a
It's
Nathan
good.
Fillion one?
It's good.
Yeah, it's all in black and white, and it's I think it was Joss Whedon directed actually, but yeah,
Huh.
I
it's
filmed at his house.
it's modern.
Well, I remember watching the Kenneth Branagh Much Ado, and what stuck with me was Keanu's. And it's like, Keanu, we know you don't know what any of this means, but that was just laughter. You know what laughing is. You're the bad guy, and you're laughing at having killed one of the good characters.
So the funny thing is he went back to Manitoba because he's from there, and yeah, I was like, Keanu Reeves is Canadian. Wow, okay. But he went back to Manitoba. He did a whole run of Hamlet, and people were like, holy crap, he's good. He can really do it, because I mean, as far as stage acting goes, I figure Keanu can really get into that kind of thing and just be like, there's a whole audience here, there's all this energy, I can just really kind of bite into it. And apparently he was quite good. But yeah, that him being Don John the Bastard was a little distracting.
Yeah, I don't know, he didn't quite sell it. Maybe it was odd direction.
Could be.
Right? Like, remember the London Olympics where they got Kenneth Branagh up on stage and they're like, well, we're supposed to be doing the history of English literature and music. I guess we have to invite Kenneth.
Yeah.
Right? And it's like, I don't know, give him a poem or something to read. Make sure there's some scenery for him to chew.
1 year after Desert Bus was over, someone contacted me and said, I donated for you to read a Hamlet monologue and you never did it. And I'm like, okay, I could just record it and send it to you. And they're like, okay, so here's who Hamlet is and this is your motivation.
Whoa.
I'm like, thank you, that was courteous. Then I read the monologue and
That's good
sent
of
it
you.
off to them.
Yeah.
That's good of you.
Yeah.
Good to have, I guess,
You're better than I.
Careful, they might be in chat. I don't want to...
Yeah.
No, I said it was courteous, and it is. What if I didn't know who Hamlet was?
That is very fair, yes. But it is weird to, when it is, I think Hamlet was our grade 12 play, because everyone just gets to... Actually, well, I have never seen nor read Romeo and Juliet. Right?
There you go.
And it seems like that's a... Because I'm like, yeah, but everybody knows. I'm like, wait, no. I actually don't know how that play plays... I know how it plays out, and I know some of the major beats of it, but I know nothing about the finer beats of it because my prof or my teacher in grade 10 was like, hey, so we do Shakespeare every year, and in grade 10, or in English 10 or whatever it was, he's like, we always do Romeo and Juliet. I'm sick of Romeo and Juliet. And we're like, what? And he's like, yeah, we're not doing that. We're doing Much Ado About Nothing. And we're like, oh, that sounds weird. And then we did it, and it's like, this is an amazing play that nobody ever talks about, it seems. And meanwhile, the other class, because we were in a split English class, because we were in band, so half the people went to band, the other half went to English, and then you would reverse. And they did Romeo and Juliet instead. So the band couldn't even talk to each other about a shared experience of both knowing the same play. it was really cool. I'm glad that he put us through that, because to this day it's like I really, that's a play I really love.
I think it was, we did 12th Night in second year, like just Renaissance lit, and our prof described for us the main, she was a huge Shakespeare nerd. She was one of the people who was allowed to do Shakespeare as her PhD, because usually you have to think up something somebody hasn't said about Shakespeare, and that's hard, and she was able to do that, so she got a PhD in it. But she said she saw a production where during the opening scene the main character is just, because he's talking about this woman that he's in love with, and that he can't be with for one reason or another. And she said they just got him the biggest pillow they could find, and he was just like lying on it, being like, oh. Like the biggest size, and it sounded really comfortable, and I was envious of that because it was an early morning class and I didn't care.
My Heather got to do when she was in college and she was doing costume construction. They work with the drama department at Red Deer College, and she was working on, they needed costumes, and so she got to work on a fat suit for for 12th Night, for I forget who it was that was wearing the fat suit, but it was for some character who was like fairly major in the show, and as a result she got invited to go, and I got to go see 12th Night for the first time. And the take they did on it, like stage direction wise, is they did it looking extremely steampunk, but didn't lean into it at all. They just kind of made it like lots of gears and clocks and all sorts of crazy stuff. But it was like, here's this, here's the look, but it doesn't matter because we just wanted to do something a little bit different than your classic like big collars or whatever else. And I had a lot of fun watching that. And I followed the dude around in the fat suit the entire time. I'm like, oh, that was Heather made that. That's so cool. So it was good.
I got to see Bard on the Beach a couple of years ago, and I made a point of seeing Titus Andronicus.
Whoa.
And generally speaking, Bard on the Beach, which is done in English Bay in Vancouver, has, it's a lot of older people who go to see Shakespeare, because that's what you do when you have money and you live in Kitsilano. You want to go and see culture.
Right.
And so I and my girlfriend at the time went to see Titus Andronicus, which, if you're not familiar with it, is super violent, extremely gory, and to the degree that people aren't sure if Shakespeare actually wrote it or not, or if it was just attributed to him.
Oh.
And at one point, the character Lavinia is walking around on stage mute because her tongue has been cut off and her hands have been cut off. And the little old lady in her very like prim hat sitting in front of us, as Lavinia opens her mouth as she's being like asked by her uncle and her father about what's happened to her, and vomits blood onto the stage, bursts into tears, and has to leave.
Wow.
And I was like, oh, this is a good production, I guess.
I mean, read a synopsis of the play before you go.
Yeah,
like
that's fair.
it's some pretty grim material.
I guess most of the stuff I do isn't in English, so I'm always like, make sure you know the story.
Yeah, it's an unpleasant one, right? Like the subject matter's really like, yeah.
Does that actually, then I'm curious, Dale, does that have an effect on when you're doing stuff that's not in English? Do you like learning translations of lines or just learning the beats of the story? Does that actually help it in terms of delivery and everything? It's because, or do you have to sing the same way regardless of what's actually happening?
They give us a lot of training so that we know everything that's going on.
Right.
Because we will present it differently depending on what we're saying. The goal is to make sure we know what every single word means. Failure is if we just know what a line means without knowing the individual words.
Oh, okay.
But as we do the same languages over and over again, it gets easier.
It's like watching anime.
Yeah. Yes, exact same principle.
Yeah.
Last year I was privileged to be in a show. Adam Agoyan was directing it, and it was in Czech. And I had never, ever done anything with Czech. They have vowels we don't have. They have consonants we don't have. and like there's a consonant that I never quite got. You simultaneously go "rrr" and "zh." That's your consonant. So it's like, but it's simultaneous. It's a tricky one.
Yeah.
While singing, do it quickly.
I'll
Sweats.
pass.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was. I mean, super fun to sing in. Some people whined, but I thought it was amazing.
Awesome. Neat.
Yeah.
What's Adam Agoyan like in person?
Super friendly.
Really?
Yeah. So we get a lot of different directors who come and go, and we usually go out on Friday after rehearsal because. You know, that's when we can all hang out and get to know each other. And he always came with us. Directors often don't, but he just wanted to hang out with us.
That's super cool.
Yeah.
Rad.